And to draw the surface, we just say draw surface, the idea of the surface, so surf screen, and then we're going to put it at 0, 0 in the room. That's the upper left corner, so we want to, just have that at 0. One thing to note here is if you are using lighting, if you have lighting enabled, you're going to want to disable it up here. So D3D set lighting 0, and then you're going to want to either enable it at the end of this, or what I usually do is basically, if I want lighting, enable it somewhere in this surface set target right before you actually draw the objects. That way it's guaranteed on when you need it, and it's guaranteed off, so it doesn't affect this. Because if you set lighting on, then there needs to be a light close to the surface and blah 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 for it to light up, and yeah, it causes problems. So make sure lighting is set to off. So that in theory should be everything. Now we'll cross our fingers and see if this works. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to add before we begin is let's draw a floor, just so we can, look up and down. So D3D draw floor 0, 0, 0 room, width room, height 0. We're just going to use the box texture, repeat it like 50 times in every direction, and that way I can tell if I'm looking down or not. So yeah, now we can actually run the game, and as you can see, it's working perfectly fine. Sorry that my recording camera is off to the side a little bit. You guys can see the folder I'm putting the tutorial video parts in up there. Anyway, I didn't put any movement around yet, but I can look with the camera. Up and down is working fine, left and right is working fine. You can see here I'm looking straight down, it's causing no problems. Everything seems to be working just fine. So that's basically that. I suppose I can really quickly, just for the fun of it, add some movement. Alright, so as always, my camera software is not working with me and just missed what I typed here, so I'll just talk about it instead of typing it over. Basically, if keyboard check or W, if we're going up, we do motion add in the direction of yaw, which is the direction we're looking, at a speed of 1. And this is the reason why I don't use the variable, the pre-made variable direction for where I'm looking anymore, is so I can use this, because motion add affects the variable direction, and the variable speed and friction and whatnot, they're all based on the variable direction. So if I want to walk to the side or something, like here, keyboard check Ord S, that's behind me. If I want to walk to the side, like keyboard check Ord A, and then motion add yaw minus 90 if I had direction, or yaw plus 90 if I had direction plus 90. This would be trying to change direction, then it would check direction, add a number to it, and then it would go in a cycle. So I use yaw instead. And then down here we limit the speed, so if speed is greater than 3, speed equals 3. And that keeps it from going faster and faster and faster. And now we need to add the friction, which we could add in the create event, but we'll just add it here, because why not? Friction equals 0.2, and we'll see how that works. Alright, so here is an effect you could do, like since this is drawn on a surface and there's multiple things you can do on a surface. You can draw a part of a surface, you can draw kind of like pieces of a surface using 3 points and using like the surface as texture almost, you know, where the points are on the surface and then where they're located on the screen, so you can kind of warp the screen. I should have an example in the description for a game where the screen is waving. So here's an example of something you could do. Draw, set, blend mode, ext. So I'm trying to remember how this is supposed to go. Normally it's BM source alpha BM invert source alpha, then draw, set, blend mode BM normal, which is the same thing I typed up here, but we'll see if we want to add anything. This camera software, it's not working with me. Cut out a decent chunk of time here. But basically the changes I made were this first one is BM0 because it multiplies the source color by 0. Basically how draw, set, blend mode works for the ext one is whatever value you put in here, it's multiplied by the source, which is basically whatever you are about to draw, by this value, and then the second value is multiplied by the destination, which is where you're going to put where your thing's about to be drawn on, and then these two get added together, and then that determines the color. So I have BM0 for the what I'm about to draw, and then destination I have invert source color, which is the inverse of this. And I want to multiply this by 1 because I don't want it to be changed at all. So, you know, multiplying anything by 1 doesn't change it. And so I draw a white box because white has max RGB values, and so the draw, set, blend mode uses ranges 0 to 1, so max would be 1. So white would be 1 1 1. Basically, that whole thing is to just draw an invert of the surface. So now, if we test that out, you can see that there is a photographic negative of our game. The colors are inverted, and that's a kind of cool effect. So yeah, that's the easiest example I could think of. I should have two other examples in the description. One for an anaglyphic 3D game, which basically draws two different surfaces with two different, slightly different projections, and then it colors one red and one cyan, multiplies them together when it draws them. The other one is a wave effect for like underwater effects or something, and it causes the screen to wave around, and that basically is using one of the drawing surface functions where you can draw pieces of a surface and give them different locations, kind of like polygons and textures. So I have the vertices, if you will, of the surface moving around on the screen. But there is so much more you could do with surfaces. There's, you could potentially make a surface into a texture, so you could use that for reflections, where you set up a camera from the reflected perspective, then attach it to the object or something. You can have shadows, or bloom effect. You could have motion blur, make it so that multiple images are drawn, and as you move your mouse, it draws the images on top of each other, giving a blur effect as you're moving. And there's a lot of interesting things you can do. You just have to be creative, and it's by no means a simple task. So yeah, hope that guys helped you out. If you want to draw 3D onto surfaces, it opens up so many doors to your games. That's really all there is to this tutorial. So this is Samus Ridley signing off.